Hello, everybody, and welcome to session 10 of Contagious Care in the Elevate Your Wellbeing series. It's good to be here with you today, and good on you for taking the first step in the right direction as we navigate our way through this COVID-19 season, which I have to say is just an exciting stage in development for Australia, at least, that we have been doing so well and reaping the benefits now in being able to have a bit more leniency with restrictions. So yeah, but how are we navigating our way through this time? That's what we're looking at through this series. And want to welcome you all. Please give me a wave. Hi, Annie. Please a thumbs up or a love, just so I know who I'm talking with, so it's not just the camera and me. That's a little bit lonely. Hi, Carol. Hey, it's a new Carol, and I want to welcome you today. I don't think you've been here before, so great to have you here. So yeah, just please click on in if you've just come on. So before we start today's session on values, valuing our values, and how do we live a life by design rather than by default, I was thinking of asking you whether you know the three things that I have particularly noticed as a teacher over 35 years. What are the three things that I've noticed about people who love to learn and create success in life? So as you think about that, I'll just state those three really clearly. These people who do create success in their life through what they have learned are, one, open to new ideas. They love to see and explore new ways of thinking. So what's the best way to open a parachute? Hey, how about you just click in the comments your answer to that? And the first one to click in the comments is going to get a book sent to you. So you're going to need to give me your address in the end. But what's the quickest way of opening a parachute? The best way to get your parachute to work? For those of you who are really cluey, I've actually just answered the question, and I'm not seeing many answers here, so don't be silent. Anyway, so best way to get the parachute to work is obviously to open it. And then, so humans are just the same. We actually need to open our hearts, open our minds to be successful in our learning. And the second thing I've noticed is that the best learners are willing to invest in themselves. And that's exactly what you're doing by being here. Investing in yourself so you can invest into others around you. And then the third thing is, which is so important, is that the best successful learners actually take action on their inspired thoughts. It's no good just even taking notes and shoving them in the drawer and not doing anything about it. And then when you next move, you dig up all these notes. Oh yeah, that would have been good to apply. So it's actually taking action on your thoughts and putting them into daily actions to make the life that you want to lead. So what we're looking at today is valuing our values. And it's interesting that I just went into this in more depth when I met this wonderful person who's become a colleague and a friend now. Her name is Deborah Adeline. And when I was given the opportunity of co-authoring this book called Elevate Your Wellbeing, Deborah was one of the authors. And she's a tremendously inspiring person. And she has written the last chapter. I know this is all going to be backwards, so it's not going to make sense to you. It's just something that happens on Facebook with pictures. But Deborah Adeline, I just want to actually recommend her within this book, an incredible co-author and speaker, international speaker and writer on well-being. And so I was privileged to get to know her, and she's written the whole chapter of what I am talking about today. And it's a very meaningful chapter and something that I really gained so much from when I got to know the authors that I was writing with in this book, and have followed through with her work. So I'm just going to quote actually something that she shares about values, and it's this. Why is it so important to know our highest values? She says, values are the compass and the torch of life. They guide you towards meaningful action. They illuminate your path and bring you back when you wander off track. You can lean on them in times of discomfort. They're a battery pack to supercharge you when things don't go your way, and are your enthusiastic best friends who stay by your side along your journey. And she's a beautiful writer, and it's just a really important one to think about. Why do we have values, or why don't we? Why haven't we thought about them before? So I just want you to picture now, the picture I've got up here. It's a picture of the Himalayas, the Annapurna range, when John and I, with our girls when they were 10 and 8, our children, no, my mistake, our girls when they were 10 and 8, and our poor son Matthew, who was only 5 at the time, missed out. He had a holiday at my parents' place for the month while we were running marriage seminars in India. And then, to give our girls a treat, whilst we had been doing that, and they had been being looked after by Indian families and that we were staying with, and whilst we were doing that, we thought we need to give them a treat at the end of these marriage enrichments that didn't involve them, obviously. And we took them on this week. It's a long time ago now, 25 years ago, but it was about a week's holiday through the Annapurna ranges. And this is a beautiful painting of them that is just so exactly, it's like a photograph. It is just so exactly it. And it took us ages to get to a high ground where we could actually see these glorious views. So the experience, the journey was wonderful, but we needed to get to high ground to see the amazing range that we were on, and then to see these glorious views from different parts of it. And that's the same with values. We need to get a mountaintop experience of looking at our life in order to take action on what values we want to develop more of, and what we might have been valuing that actually isn't important, and we've seen the futility of it. So we need to get a high perspective, to get on a high rock, a high mountain range, and see our life as a whole, what we've lived so far, and to vision what we want to see in the future. And that's why I'm doing these sessions in sequence, valuing our values today. And on Thursday, we're going to be looking at really setting our goals. Our intention was characteristics of how we want to be throughout the day, but goal setting is much bigger. And we need to get onto that high range to see our life from afar. And valuing our values is one way, the way of helping us to get there. So, I want to ask you now, what are your highest values? What would you, can you click in the comments section, anything on, whatever it is. It might be love, generosity, it might be just any of your highest values that you know you live by now. Just click them in the comments section. And just try one. That's fine. But what we're going to look at, and it's okay if you don't have it clear right now, because you may not have ever had the opportunity of learning a process of how to identify your highest values, so that's okay. But if you have been able to identify any of your highest values, you'll notice that it gives you much greater clarity in life, incredible clarity. So just click in your comments section now. For some reason, I'm not seeing anything. I know there's 8 people viewing right now, but I can't see any of your comments. So please click in. Margaret, hi, good to see you. Please let me know with a thumbs up or a love heart if you're here. Alita, you've written in honesty, fantastic. Okay, so just write in one value that you might know of now. Now remember, it's okay if you have never done this before. That's why we're doing it now. Hold yourself kindly if it's something you haven't done before, because your values are waiting patiently within you. You might not have them at the surface right now, but they are there, and all you need to do is to reach inside and blow the dust off them. They've been there. They change through the seasons of life, through your stages of development, but some may be consistent right through your life. Transparency, Amanda's saying, fantastic. I'm seeing your comments now, which is great. A few more values would be just great to be able to start this session with. So click in there when you think of them. So quite simply, values are our life's helpers. They actually help us through the dark times of life, during times of suffering and pain. And I know when I've had injuries and been in hospital, my values come really clearly to me. And it's just an incredible time through the suffering of knowing how I'm living, how I'm still choosing to live, regardless of the pain or the suffering that I'm in at that time. And it really helps me get through those dark times. And even through positive times, it reminds me of what my focus is. So it's lovely to be hearing these comments now. Empathy from Annie. Lita says compassion. Carol says encouragement and caring. Wonderful. And hi, Peter. Welcome here, and welcome to you, Mindy, also. So just click in any values that you can identify now that you have, because it's important to uncover your highest values so you can live in alignment to them. That's one thing, identifying them. And then the other 50% of the equation is to actually choose to live in alignment with them. That is what is transformative. It's no good knowing your values or only half of them, and then missing out on the other half and getting to your deathbed and thinking, why didn't I choose to live in alignment with those other values? Now, give an example of this, and it was just a striking example for me. When I was, you might be able to see, I love mountain climbing, and I had the opportunity, 15 years ago now, we were running some marriage seminars in Uganda, and after that I had the wonderful opportunity of being able to climb Kilimanjaro, which is the highest mountain in Africa. It borders on Kenya and Tanzania, and I climbed that with Christine, our middle child, and one of my dearest friends from South Africa. And so what happened, it's a 5 to 6 day hike, depending on which way you go. And there's altitude sickness. It's 5,895 meters. So it's extremely high. It's the height of level 1 after the base camp of Everest, which gives you an idea. Anyway, we met along the way a guy who had climbed all the highest peaks of the other 6 continents, and this was his last highest peak of the last continent that he was to climb, Mount Kilimanjaro. And we spoke to him just on the first day. I remember coming across him as we were walking along the track, and didn't come across him later. You know, obviously he was a fascinating guy, having climbed all the highest peaks of the world and hearing his experiences. Anyway, came across him when we got down to the end of that experience, got down celebrating and just, wow, we made it. That type of exhilarating experience. Do you know that when he got to the top, all throughout that whole time, there's an amazing 2 hours when you get to the plateau. You hike up on the last night from 11:30 p.m. with your torch lamp on, and you're climbing all this scree, and it's really grueling. And you get to the plateau, and then to have breakfast and see the gorgeous sunrise, and then you've got about another 2 hours to go to get to the highest point. And at the highest, in that last 2 hours, it was just the most surreal experience for me, seeing these. I'm going to cry as I visualize it. I'm right there now. As you see these amazing glacier formations, and you're just right there in it. And I'm going to show you something of that experience, because this tells you what this guy who climbed all the other highest peaks in the world missed out on totally. So this was my experience, okay, in that last couple of hours, being above the clouds, seeing other mountains just jut up through the clouds, incredible sunrise, and being on top of the world, literally. Well, not literally, we weren't on top of Everest, but you know what I mean. And to me, that was the most amazing experience. And my values that exhibited through that journey of getting altitude sickness as well was perseverance, appreciation of God and all his amazing, majestic creation. And so having those 2 values of perseverance and not wanting to give up, but also appreciating every moment of the journey, I saw these scenes and captured them. But this guy who was just on a mission to climb to the top of every highest peak in the 7 continents, he missed it all. When I got down and had a dinner with him and some other guys, and he actually saw my photos, he said, "Where was that? Where was that glacier? Where was that? Did you go the same route?" And we went exactly the same route. He just could not believe that he had been in the same place as me, got to the top, had that wonderful, fulfilling experience, but missed out on all the unbelievable scenery on the way. And he felt really gutted. He was gutted. And so it was, what I went away from that with was this sense of, yes, he had perseverance. I'm going to do everything I can to get there. But he didn't have the value of appreciating the moment, of actually taking in the most glorious of creations that I've ever been in. And having that experience of the physicality of it, the endurance, the surreal experience of achievement in that, but just as much holding the value of gratitude and enjoyment along the pathway, and taking in every moment, taking time to absorb what is right in front of me. And so I hope that that life experience for me in seeing this guy gutted. You know, lots of people, he's written a book, lots of people would really aspire to what he's done. But there was a real sadness in him, and a quiet sadness as I listened to his guttedness, that he hadn't seen what a mere mortal like myself had seen as I journeyed that. And so sometimes our values, or lack of them, a lack of some values, can get in the way of just not identifying other values, can get in the way of our other values, all right? So hi Anna, and hi Rhonda, and hi Mindy. So just looking at your responses, wow, awesome. Altitude sickness is very rough. Yes, that's another story I won't go into. It's a funny experience that I experienced. I started taking all my clothes off just really quickly. I had no idea I was doing it. It was freezing cold, but somehow I thought I was hot, and our guide said, get your clothes back on again, get them back on. So yeah, and of course my daughter was just totally embarrassed by that scene. Anyway, enough of that. That's an amazing story, Heather. Thanks, Anna. So, you know, I really want you to get the point of that story, that values, if we align our life with our values, then we know where we're heading and why we're heading there, and we don't have that clash and that gutted experience like this mountaineer did. So I'm going to just quickly go through a process that will help you work through your highest values. And I really encourage you to buy this book, because Deborah Adelin, honestly, it's her chapter is in the last one, but it should be the first chapter. It's the first chapter of our life, really, on getting on the journey, if we really do understand and identify our values. And so the process is all about you identifying and uncovering your values. There's no right and wrong. Through this, it's whatever comes to you. So I'm just going to quickly ask you now to write down, or to just put in the comments, yes, what do you love to talk about? Okay, for me, it's about relationships. I love to talk about, improving our relationships and being honest in that process, honest with ourselves, so that we can develop an authentic relationship with ourselves and then the people that we come across. What do you love to talk about? Just jot it in the comments section. What do you love to research? Jot that in the comments section. What do you just love to look up at night? Google. What do you watch YouTubes on? Whatever. What abilities do you love improving? What do you work on? Just, what types of things do you actually set the bar higher for you in your own development? What do you love to contemplate in your reflection times? What do you love to contemplate? For me, it is that sense of God's creation, being out in nature. I just feel so replenished by contemplating his amazing handiwork. And then the last one, what do you know a lot about? So this is the track, the values track exercise. If you had noticed, each of those words, what do you love to talk about, research, abilities, TRAC, contemplate is C, and what do you know a lot about is K. So TRACK, Benjamin Harvey, I just read romance, one of my romance people, one of my mentors, I was about to say, I read your note. Amanda, love this, Heather. Romance, people, sport, personal development, emotions, mindset, food and movies. I love it. You certainly know your values. So Benjamin Harvey is one of my mentors, and he set up this values track. And again, it's in the book, Elevate Your Wellbeing. And when you have answered those questions, that helps you select one word from each of those columns that most inspires you, and that's what you're most passionate about. Okay? For me, it's healing and honesty, connection and relationships. And so in order to deep dive within, deep down, it's best to remind yourself that you can express your truth freely as you do this exercise. There's a whole lot more to it that goes deeper within the book. But it just allows you to authentically give yourself permission to describe what you love, what you're passionate about, what you research, what you love talking about in conversations. So before taking too long to respond, if you can just don't think about it too much. It's whatever comes to your mind. Just click it in the comments section like Amanda has, because it'll give other people ideas of, oh yeah, that's what I'm passionate about too. So when you've discovered those things, you can then align your actions with your values. Once you've clarified your highest values, you could start pinning or pegging actions to those values. And a great way to think about that is to ask yourself this question: how can I bring my value that I've chosen, how can I bring my value to life? See, I brought my value of perseverance and deep appreciation for nature to life on top of Kilimanjaro. And I made sure I saw everything that there was. And that's because I wanted to align my values to my life through action. Okay? How can I breathe action into my values? And so if you take your 3 highest values that you've chosen, hopefully, by doing that exercise and by looking at the book and the Deborah's chapter more thoroughly, you'll be able to do this and have it written down with the pages there. That's just so helpful, because it's good activities that she gives you. You can ask the question currently: how do I bring value to how do I bring my value to my life? Well, remember I said honesty and healing together, being authentic in how we can dive deeper into our soul to be able to be healed with past stuff in previous relationships that we've had, so that we can start a new future together. So I say I value honesty and healing. So how can I bring that to life? How can I breathe life into it? I can ask, am I being real with myself and in my relationships? Do I take an honest look at myself? And then I can ask a more community question of, how can I breathe life into the community that I serve? And that is, for me, with healing and honesty and relationships, I can breathe life as I serve others by developing workshops that have enabled people to take an honest look at themselves and heal from the wounds that have held them back from reaching their true potential. So you see how when you align your values to your life through acting on them, I started creating workshops because on the topics that I was passionate about. So that was really key to that value of honesty and healing. Another value I have is connection. So how can I breathe life into that? I can connect more deeply with myself by expressing my daily gratitudes, my appreciations each evening before I go to sleep. That's connecting with myself. And then how can I develop that further and breathe more life in? Well, I start each morning by connecting with God in prayer. I listen, I set my daily intention with Him. And how can I develop that in the community? I can contact, maybe on one day, 2 family members or friends to be able to connect and show interest in their lives. So it's those identifying the values and aligning it to your life. So I hope those examples of in my life has helped you develop, identify your values and align your life to those values. So let's have a look at some here. We've got Carol, grow and deepen in relationships, being real and honest. Thank you, contemplating what God has done and thankfulness. And Amanda, Heather, what was the name of the book? Okay, it was called Elevate Your Wellbeing. And you can go onto my website, heathermcalpineconsulting.com, to buy that. Half the proceeds, Amanda, go to Breast Cancer Network Australia. I just really wanted to give to this community who supported me when I went through breast cancer big time. And they, so yes, go onto my website and it's all there. And there's some tremendous chapters in this book written by other people who are experts in their field of well-being. And the truth about happiness, how to find it, nutritional experts, how we can all meditate our way to well-being and choosing one's mindset. We're going to look at mindset next week and goals on Thursday, how to develop goals with a lovely fun exercise that I'm going to give you, Imagine Action. Imagine the action that you're going to be taking and seeing it all out there before your eyes in colour. So that's what we're going to look at on Thursday. But yeah, the Wellbeing book, thanks for asking about that, Amanda. It's a great gift for Mother's Day to give to your mum or a friend at this time, because this season of life, we do want to be elevating our well-being. We really want to, besides keeping clear of COVID, we want to be able to develop all aspects of our well-being. One of the experts looks at immunity and gardening and how we can develop our own organic foods. Another one looks at essential oils and a surprising technique for weight loss. And one looks at another author looks at the scientific link between love and health and forgiveness. And my chapter is on the freedom through forgiveness, which was my writings there developed from having run 10 years of seminars on the power of apology, that now I look at forgiving ourselves and forgiving the person or people that we've struggled to let go of, where that just eats us away inside. So the point is that book can help you elevate your well-being in all different aspects of life, and really want to encourage you also, when you're looking at these different aspects of life with your values, remember that it's the large actions consist of many, many small actions. So don't get overwhelmed with the big thing first. In order for me to design the workshops that I run, I had to cut it down into really bite-sized actions to start with. So for many, a large action, like for me developing a workshop, would have been so overwhelming for me too, to do in one go. And it winds up in the too hard basket, you never get it done. So it's chunking it down to small actions. But if they're too small, you can undermine yourself as well. So get that balance. If they're too large, you can feel overwhelmed. If they're too small, like I might write one word a day or one sentence a day, you don't bother. So if you have a large action, chunk it down into smaller pieces until they're doable, whilst you stretch yourself along the way. And once you've achieved that, you ask yourself, what's the next action can I take? So the next action that we're going to take is looking on Thursday at developing goals that we can imagine from afar and actually put into action immediately with some starting actions right now. So thank you for joining us today. Remember, you don't have to get it right, you just have to get it started. And between now and Thursday, be brave, be life-giving, and let your light shine.